What's up, y'all? This is Dre, aka Big Bro, coming back at you once again. Now, this is the story about how and why I became a blood. So, let me start. This is back right after I got shot. This is right around 2005. 2005, Baltimore, Maryland, West Side. I'm from Liberty Heights in Garrison. All my homeboys used to be on Liberty Heights and Gwen Oak, down bottom. And I used to always go out to my grandmother's house out in Randallstown and off of Old Court Road. And so back then, Bloods and gang members in Baltimore wasn't really that heavy. Really, we just had just Muslims and BGFs, and basically like that was it. Other than that, it was just basically all neighborhoods. But right around that time is when Bloods and Crips and GDs and Latin Kings and Vice Lords gangs just started populating all around. So this was around 2005, and my homeboys, they had OG, supposedly OG, as we young, and mind you, I'm like 17 years old at this time. So we basically believe in every goddamn thing that we hearing. So this is the story. So my homeboys, they had an OG, and he came from California, and he went out California and got down with a blood gang called 7-9 Swan. So he came back to Baltimore, and they started claiming that when they were in Milford High School. I went to Randallstown High School, and that's when I got shot. Then I went up to Franklin, but they went to Milford. So it was like it was my homeboy Conway, my homeboy Hayes, my homeboy Ducky, my homeboy Fawn, and my other homeboy, Soldier. Did I say Soldier? Soldier. Like it was like them. There was the five of them. And I had a whole bunch of other homeboys, but it was them five that I used to hang with real tough as well. And they used to always rock the red bandana. And at Baltimore, it just like once you seen one, you just started seeing two. Next thing you just started seeing everybody walking around with red bandanas, and everybody just started claiming and doing the blood handshake and all this stuff. So I'm hanging with them all the time. We chilling, we going to the mall together, we getting into fights together. Me and my homeboys, I ain't gonna lie, this is back when I was robbing people. We robbing people together and everything. But I'm not a blood, but I'm hanging with these dudes. So being around that environment, I would just always told myself if they was to ever get into anything, then I'm riding with them. I'm down with them just because we grew up together. These are people that I've known since, I was like, I was a little boy. You know what I'm saying? We riding, playing basketball together, we playing football together, we riding bikes, we going to see girls together. I know their parents, they know my parents. So I'm like, man, I'm not a blood, I'm not down with the gang, but if they get into something with Crips or anybody, or if they just get into it with another neighborhood, I'm just there because they my homeboys. So with that being said, that being in my logic, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking like, man, I might as well just rock out with them. But it's not like I had a hatred for another gang. I just had love for my homeboys. And they was getting really serious with it. Like they started having rank. They started putting other people on. They started telling me, and we got egos. So they starting to tell me like, hey, I could put you down and then you can have your own clique and you can recruit dudes and people to pay you dues and stuff like that. So, growing up as a little boy, that started to be intriguing to me. So with that being said, I was just rocking with them, riding with them. And I started to wear a black bandana. And back then they were saying, a black bandana means you affiliated. You wear a white bandana, that just means you loyal. You wear the red bandana, that means you banging. You wear blue, that means you banging. You wear that yellow, that means you banging. You Latin King or you Vice Lord. Or, it was so many different colors. So I used to wear black just to say that, hey, I'm affiliated and I'm rocking with somebody for the cause. So one day, it's Halloween, and I'm riding with my homeboy Phil, my homeboy Mookie, and this other dude named Maurice, which supposedly he was a Latin king, and he was from Chicago. Supposedly, come to find out, the whole time he was from Deer Park somewhere. That's another county out in Baltimore. So we riding, and I know these dudes. I know these dudes from high school, and I knew the dude Mookie from Baltimore City, from when I used to hang around Cold Spring. So we riding, and my homeboy Phil, he called me, it's Halloween. He like, hey man, what you doing? So I'm like, man, I'm just chilling in the house. What's up? He like, man, you coming out? And I'm like, yeah, come on, come scoop me. So he comes to scoop me. We riding up and down Liberty Heights. We go all the way out Liberty Road, and we chilling out there. You know, we blowing trees, we drinking, you know, and my homeboy, he got a baseball bat in the car. And I'm sitting in the back seat, just got a metal baseball bat in the car. That's the only thing we got. So for some reason, you know, we listening to rap music. So we instantly on like Demon Time, you know what I mean? But not so much. You know, sometimes you get that mentality like, man, if somebody mess with me, you know what I mean, I'm gonna have to react and I'm gonna react accordingly. But at the same time, we all really trying to make it back home to our families. And plus, I ain't gonna lie, like I was raised in a family household where even if my pants were sagging, or if I had this ring back down, my mother or my dad, they'd be on my ass. You know what I mean? Or if my pants were sagging, they'd pull your pants up. You know, if I said, God dang, you know, that word is too close to damn. You know what I mean? So my parents was real strict. So me just hanging out like that, I really wasn't pressed about getting in trouble. But at the same time, I'm riding with the homies, you know what I mean? Because at that time, that was like one of the most important things ever, to be accepted by the crew. But anyway, so it's like 10 o'clock at night, and we riding from Liberty Heights, which is Baltimore City. We driving out the Liberty Road, and we headed towards like Deer Park. We all the way up there on Liberty Road. So my homeboy Phil, I ain't gonna lie, like for some reason when he gets around like me, or when he got around the dude Maurice, who was the Latin king, I don't know, he used to just start acting like he was armed with the US government or something like that. He thought he had the Marines with him. So we see like 12 dudes chilling in it was a shopping center. It was a little Food Line shopping center that was closed. Yeah, it was like 10:30 because the shopping center was closed. But they chilling out there, just huddled in a group. They just huddled, you know what I mean, looking deep. And it was only 4 of us. They like at least 10. It was at least 10, between 10 and I'd say 10 and 14 of them dudes. So my homeboy feel like, look at them bitch ass niggas. What you think they doing over there? I'm looking like nothing. Like, man, let's go get some girls or something. You know what I mean? But he like, man, I'm about to spin around, man, see what's up. I'm just thinking like, wow. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, don't do it. But I ain't want to be like, stop, because then, you know, people always be like, what, you scared? You know what I mean? I used to always hear that. I'd be like, man, you know, I don't think that's a good idea. What, you scared? You know what I mean? So I ain't even want to hear that scared talk. But he like, man, hold up. So he goes up the Liberty Road. We see the group of dudes on the right-hand side. He spins a U-turn in the middle of the street. This is how I know it was real late, because it was damn near no cars in the parking lot. He just spent the U-turn in the middle of the street. It was no car, and Liberty Road is busy, and it was damn near no cars out there. For some reason, it seemed like we was the only ones out there riding at that time in that area, and they was the only dudes. It just seemed like we was the only ones in civilization right there in that area. It was crazy. It was creepy. So he hits a U-turn in the middle of the street. He turns back around. He's riding slow down Liberty Road, looking out the left-hand window, looking like, man, fuck them niggas, man. Fuck them. Like, I don't know. He must have been beefing with them, or he seen somebody that he didn't like, but he didn't elaborate. But excuse that noise. But for the most part, hold up, dang. All right, my fault, y'all. But yeah, so anyway, so he's looking out the left side of the window, and he's just looking like, man, fuck they doing, y'all? Fuck they doing? That's how he talk. Like, fuck they doing, y'all? You know what I mean? So I'm just looking like, man, like you know, I don't know. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, yo, why don't he just go get some girls or something, man? So anyway, I stay quiet. Everybody stay quiet. Everybody just looking. So we ride down, and then he bangs the left at the light. We gotta go down that street, and then we gotta bang another left to go inside the shopping center. At first I'm thinking like, man, he got to be bluffing, cause there's only 4 of us, and they are super deep. So he actually rides in the shopping center. I'm thinking like, yo, he's gonna ride past them or something. Like he probably just gonna mug them. You know what I mean? But he actually goes into the parking lot, speeds up, acts like he's gonna hit them, and that's when they like, whoa. You know what I mean? And I'm looking like, oh. I'm like, all right, yo, all right, now just drive off. And that's when they like, yo, like, they trying to look inside the car. They looking like, yo, what's up, yo? Get out the car. Get out the car. So I'm looking like, damn. Now we in it. So he pulls around and actually parks the car. Parks the goddamn car. Parks the car. We get out the car. I got my black bandana hanging out my back pocket. So we get out the car. I ain't really saying too much. I'm just looking like, yo, just don't nobody touch me. You know what I mean? Don't nobody touch me. Don't nobody touch my niggas. And I'm just hoping that we can just get out of this situation. So as I'm looking, you know what I mean? They super deep. I'm looking around, and one of the dudes was talking to my homeboy Phil, and I think they knew each other. And I think that's part of the reason why he came over there and did that. Because he knew one of the dudes, and the dudes was like, yeah, like, yo, ain't you, is this other dude named Will. And he was a Crip. They used to be out there. He was like, yo, ain't you like Will homeboy? And they got the talking, and they was just having a one-on-one on the side. And that's when it was a bunch of dudes. They weren't even wearing blue bandanas. They was wearing gray bandanas. Some of them weren't wearing no bandanas, but I do remember they was wearing gray, and they was just dressed in blue. But anyway, so the other dudes, so we just looking, and the other dudes, they questioning the homeboy, Maurice. They like, yo, you know what I mean? What you rep? Because he ain't have on no yellow bandana, but he used to wear black and yellow beads with a cross. I believe. Don't quote me on that. I do know he had black and yellow beads. He used to ride black and yellow beads. And so they asking him what he claimed and stuff like that. So he letting them know. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but I remember he was just letting them know. Wasn't really nobody backing down, but everybody. But for us to go over there and challenge them dudes like that, it wasn't like we was aggressive neither. But they was kind of like aggressive. They had the screw face, and they was questioning. They was questioning us. So one dude, he ends up asking me. He like, yo, what's this? And he reaches down to try to grab my black bandana. And that's when I was like, whoa. I was like, nah, don't do that, shorty. Don't do that, shorty. And that's when he was like, what? And he swung. When he swung, I ducked and pushed him. I ducked and pushed him. Another dude came, swung. I hit him. I hit him in like his neck. I swing again. Another dude grabs me. So it's just like melee right now. Another dude grabs me. I turn around, get him up off of me, and I start fighting another dude. I punched him. He swinging, punching him. And that's when we broke it up. And that's when I'm like, all right. And I'm backing up towards the car. And I'm like, yo, it's over. And I see a couple of dudes, walking towards me. They like, yo, I'm like, yo, it's over. And that's when they walking. And another dude walks beside me, and he like, no, it ain't over. And I ain't gonna lie, he caught me. Boom, he caught me. I grabbed him, and I grabbed him, and I bring him in front of me, and he grabs my jacket and puts it over top of my head. I put him up against my homeboy Philip Carr. Now I just feel they put the beats on my back, but the dude got his arm over top of my head, and he's kind of covering my neck and my head area, and he's holding on to my coat and pulling me towards him, and I'm pushing him up against the car, and I didn't give him that knee yet, but I got him up against the car, and I'm like, yo, tell your people stop, yo, tell your people chill. And that's when he like, yo, get the fuck off me. I'm like, yo, I'll let you go. And then I started hitting him in between while we in the coach, and I started hitting him. They beating the shit out of my back. But it's my back, and I ain't even really feeling it. I'm just praying to God. It ain't even a knife wound. But I ain't gonna lie, like right now, I'm thankful to God that it wasn't me getting stabbed, because in the moment I wasn't even thinking that I was feeling the knife. I was just thinking like, these dudes just hit me in my back and it ain't even really affecting me. I really don't even feel it. You know what I mean? So I got the dude up against the car and I'm hitting him and I'm hitting him and I'm hitting him, and he's just holding on to my coat and he's like, get this nigga the fuck off me, yo. Get him the fuck off me, yo. And that's when they like, oh, all right. And that's when they backed up. And I'm holding the dude. I'm like, yo. I'm like, all right, yo. No, I'm sorry. The dude, he didn't say it was over. Pardon me. Let me back up. Now, the dude didn't say it was over just yet. The one little dude, I backed up and he just caught me. When he caught me, that's when I grabbed him and he put my coat over top, and then that's when it happened, when I had him up against his car. But that's when they was like, all right, let him up. I was like, yo, I'm gonna let you up, yo. And that's when I was like, all right, it's over. He was like, yeah. And that's when I'm backing up. And that's when the one dude, that's when I take my coat off and I look, and the dude was like, nah, it ain't over. Bop! And that's when he caught me. That's when I got caught again. He caught me and I seen his man and I gave his man a knee and I backed up. Knee to the face and I backed up. As I'm backing up, I'm not seeing Philip. I'm not seeing Maurice. I'm not seeing Mookie. I'm not seeing none of them. So I'm backing up, and that's when the whole crowd of dudes, they coming towards me. And I'm backing up. I'm skipping back. And that's when they stopped and they was like, all right. They went back to my man's car. And no, when they was coming towards me, one of the dudes had that baseball bat that was in the car. He had that baseball bat. I'm glad he didn't hit me with that shit. But he had that baseball bat, and I'm backing up. And that's when they stopped, went back to the car, and just started beating the shit out of my homeboy Philip car. Busting the windows. They go in there, they ransacking everything. I had everything that I had. Everything that I came with was in my pocket. They took all this back when we had CDs laying around the car. They took everything out your shit and just beat the shit out of this car. Bust all the windows and got everything and got up out of there. So I'm tired. I'm like, damn. So I'm walking towards the food line. I walk in there to get some water or something. And that's when I see Philip, Maurice, and Mookie and these dudes in there. They like, yo, first thing Philip say, he like, yo, Dre, you all right, yo? I'm like, what? He like, yo, we just called the police, yo, you good? I'm like, yo, get the fuck away from me, yo. I'm like, yo, all y'all niggas just get the fuck away from me, yo. And he was like, yo, and so they went outside. They act like they was about to go chase these niggas and show the police where they was at. They dipped off. And they said, I was like, yo, I'm just calling my girl to come pick me up, man. Y'all just go ahead. And they dipped off. I don't know where they went. But he did tell me that he was calling the police, and he dipped off. And make a long story short, I ended up calling my girl. She came up there to pick me up, you know what I mean? Yada, yada, gave her the spill, just like I told y'all what just happened. And, you know what I mean? It was a bunch of bullshit that night. The police came and they asked me what happened. I was like, man, I don't remember what happened. I just got jumped. You know what I mean? They still wanted to take me to the hospital. I'm like, man, I ain't got no bruises or nothing. And my girl like, just go. I'm like, man, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, would you take me home? I'm trying to get some, you know what I mean? But anyway, fast forward, after all that happened, I ended up going back to school. And I seen the dude Will, and the dude Will was just telling me, he was like, man, that's crazy, yo. He was like, yo, I knew all them, yo. He like, yo, my bad, that shit happened. But, you know what I mean? Like, Phil, like, y'all niggas was in the wrong. And I was like, yo, I know. I was like, I didn't tell Phil to do what he did. And he was like, yeah. He was like, yo, all them niggas were saying, like, you was the only one out there that was fighting and stood up. Everybody else dipped. Everybody else was some bitches. You know what I mean? I was like, man. And they was talking about getting me down to come rock with the Crips. So I was like, I ain't banging you. I ain't doing all that. So that kind of made me, because I wasn't that cool with the dude Will, but I was real cool with my homeboys with the Red. You know what I mean? So I was really thinking like, yo, this might be that time. You know what I mean? And plus, after that, I was real ignorant because I went back to my homeboys and I was like, yo, you know what I mean? There's some Crips around Dead Park, you know what I mean? We can get at. But really, it was our fault. You know what I mean? It was our fault. I'm saying that right now. It was our fault. I apologize to y'all Crips, yo. You know what I mean? From the bottom of my heart. You know what I mean? We was not supposed to be running up on y'all like that. We was not supposed to be going over there fighting and pressing y'all, man. Y'all was minding y'all business. You know what I mean? And I checked Phil real hard for that one time. That's another story right there. He had to get the fuck up out of there. But anyway, so that made me more want to was really curious about being a blood now. So now, fast forward, when I got shot, they told me, they was like, because that was the same year in school where I had got expelled. No, I didn't get expelled, but I got long-term suspension for like 9 months. And then I came back for like another 2. And then I ended up getting shot in May. And so I basically didn't even have a school yet, but they was like, they'll still pass me and they'll pay for my medical bill. So they sent me all the way out Ricestown to the school called Franklin. Now Franklin was supposed to be like a school that was, that had high curriculum and stuff like that. So they had sent me out there. And as soon as I get out there, I just see a whole, but I don't even want to say dudes was clowns out there because they was getting down out there too. They was banging blood and they was banging Crips and they was getting down out there. So when I went out there, it was like, for some reason, like I had like a Morado around me. Like, I don't know, people just started gravitating to me and they just started looking at me like I was a leader. And I kind of liked it that. I ain't gonna front. So it was dudes out there that was banging blood. I seen some of them was soft, some of them was real dudes. But I was like, you know what? I was thinking like, it's time. It's time. Dudes is walking around. The girls, they attracted to the dudes as bloods. I wasn't playing no football. I was just that dude that got shot. You know what I'm saying? I was just the dude that got shot from Roundstown. And so I ended up going out there and came back around the way one day and was chopping up with my homeboys, and they just kept asking me, they just like, man, you gonna be a blood, gonna be, what's up, man? We put you down with the 7-9 Swarm. This is how we threw it up. And so I was like, all right. I was like, bet. I was like, all right, I do it. And so that's when my homeboy Conway, he brought my home. Matter of fact, this is when he brought me the Soldier. So I'm thinking like, damn, like these dudes, they fucking around and jumped me. I was nervous as a motherfucker. I was like, man, I ain't really trying to get banked, man. I ain't trying to get jumped in. Like, damn, if I come home with some bruises, like my mother is gonna whip my ass. You know what I mean? My mother gonna tell me, you ain't never going back outside. So anyway, it was late at night one night. We got some trees. I'm about to go to my homeboy Conway house. He telling me, he like, yo, you know what I mean, Soldier, he want to talk to you before we do this, and he just want to let you know and see where your head at and everything, and you know what I mean, who knows what happens, you know what I mean, we might got to ride out, we might got to go do something, you know what I mean, and I was a little nervous. I was like, man, I don't want to do nothing that's going to make me go to prison for life or anything like that. So, or, whatever. I ain't want to do nothing. I ain't want to do, I really just wanted to let dudes know, like, man, look, man, I'm riding with y'all. I'm down with y'all. And we out here in these streets. I just wanted, I wanted to be down with the family. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyway, so we get to my homeboy house, going there. Conway, we walking in there. I'm nervous. I'm feeling like, God damn, I'm about to have a meeting. I'm a fucking meeting. Like, I'm a little ass kid. I don't know nothing about no meetings. He's like, yo, we about to have a meeting, yo, and he gotta talk to you. Y'all gonna have a serious conversation. Nervous as shit. You know what I mean? Go up in there, see my homeboy Soldier. He like, yo, what's up? I see my homeboy Conway. His cousin was in there, big, tall, light-skinned dude. Last time I seen this dude, he was running down Milford High School, banging lockers from trying to chase a group of other dudes. This dude was fucking huge, and he had a real deep voice, and the dude was swole. And I thought he was a blood. Come to find out, he wasn't. But seen my homeboy Soldier, and he just like, yo, what's up, yo? And I'm like, yo, what's up? Gave him that. I'm trying to keep the face on him, like, what's up, yo? And he like, yo, you know what I mean? Heard you ready to be homie? And I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm down, you know what I mean? Rocking with my man Conway. You know what I mean? I rock with y'all, fuck with y'all. Y'all, you know what I mean? We fam. And he like, yo, let's rap real quick. We go in the living room in the darkness. Don't turn no lights on. Conway and his cousin, they stay in the kitchen. It was only that one little light on. We go in the goddamn living room. He go in there, he twisting, he talking to me. He like, yo, you know what I mean? He like, yo, you know what I mean? Yo, at the end of the day, he like, yo, real recognize real, yo. And I'm just listening, just hearing him. I'm like, yeah. And he like, yo, real recognize real. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? From day one, you know what I mean? You always was real, nigga. You ain't never lie. You ain't never run. You know what I mean? Conway, he vouched for you. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? You gonna be down with this. You know what I mean? It's a no-brainer. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, yo, thank you. I ain't gotta do nothing crazy. You know what I mean? So he like, yeah. He like, yo, you know what I mean? I rock with you. He like, yo, so it ain't no thing. You know what I mean? Get up with Ducky. You know what I mean? And he gonna give you some paperwork. He gonna give you all the knowledge and everything that you need to know. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know what I mean? You underneath of me. You know what I mean? I'm underneath a dope boy. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, bet that's what it is. We go, and he showed me how to do we did all that. I'm like, bet. And then there's another one where we for the 7-ounce one, we was I forgot. I mean, I ain't forget, but I can do it with somebody else's hand. But with my fingers, you know, it's like this. You know what I mean? Something like that. But anyway, so go back in the kitchen or whatever, and I try to do though. I feel crazy. I go to the dude Paul, that's Conway cousin. I'm like, yo, all right. I'm like, yo, what's up, yo? And I'm trying to give him the piece, and he like, yo, nah, yo, I don't do that. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, oh, salt. You know what I mean? I'm thinking like, dang. So yeah, and that was how I came down. That's how I got down with it. You know, ended up going back to Franklin. I couldn't wait to put on the red bandana. Went in there. I'm flagging. You know what I mean? Letting people know like this what it is. This what it is. First chance I had, I'm G-checking dudes. You know what I mean? I'm telling dudes. You know what I mean? We chilling. And I'm telling dudes, I'm like, yo, you know what I mean? You a blood? You know what I mean? And dudes like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm a blood. And I'm like, yo, I don't think you official. You know what I mean? Don't claim that shit no more. We're going to have a problem. And they going to be like, it was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, you done, right? And they was like, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Some dudes was like, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Some dudes had to get checked a little bit harder than that. You know what I mean? But that was back in the day. Oh, when I was young and wild, man. Young and wild. And yeah, you know what I mean? That was just a time. That was a time. But and ever since then, you know what I mean? You know, got with my girl, and at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like she was just so green. All she used to do was stay in the house. You know what I mean? She was in college and everything. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? I had my red bandana, and I used to just keep that in the closet. You know, I used to wear red, and you know, but I really wasn't trying to. You know, it was people in the streets out in road. It was times I'm out getting food with me and her, and I used to have to duck and like hide my face, you know. So I really started to chill, you know what I mean? I was like, you know what I mean? Now I'm like 19. I'm like 19, 20 now. I'm like 19, 20 now. And she just wasn't, you know, she wasn't really with all that stuff, you know what I mean? Until she was in college, and then she found out because somebody was like, you mess with Dre Swan. That's what they used to call me. Hey, you mess with Dre Swan, YG. And they used to call me a young general. He's like, you mess with him? And she was like, what's that? You know what I mean? They was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Some dudes was just talking. They was like, oh, you know what I mean? Because I think one dude tried to holler at her, and then another dude was like, that's Dre Swan girl. You know what I mean? That's when she was like, well, what's that? You know what I mean? So that's when she came back and asked me. She was like, what, your name is Dre Swan. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? That's when she's like, oh, they said you was a YG and stuff. I was like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like I used to hide my bandana. I didn't hide it, but I used to just leave it in my closet. You know, I used to smoke weed in the shower, in the shower with the steam and blow it out the window. You know what I mean? Didn't take her out. So you know what I mean? I used to really try to like hide that stuff from my girl, you know what I mean? Because that was right around the time when I started making my transition. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know what I mean? We just started just all growing up, you know what I mean? Started having kids, started having careers. Everybody started, you know what I mean, having their wifeys, and people just started staying in the house more. People just wasn't trying to get locked up no more. People wasn't trying to shoot at people. People wasn't trying to get shot no more. So everybody kind of just split. My homeboy Soldier, he moved back to Paterson, New Jersey. My homeboy Hayes, he moved back to Rochester, New York. Shit, my homeboy Conway, you know what I mean? Man, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother story with him. You know what I mean? He locked up right now. I think he got like at least 25, at the maximum 40 right now for attempt murder. Shit, Dope Boy, he got into real estate. You know, so he don't do that no more. Ducky, you know what I mean? I mess with him every now and then. I be like, Sue Whoop, and he just busts out laughing. You know what I mean? So, but I know at the end of the day, you know what I mean? All he talk about is God. All he talk about is spirituality. And all he talk about is his children and how he's just trying to make a better life for them. So I already know where his mind state is at, and he ain't really into that stuff no more. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know what I mean? Everybody just kind of branched off. It was never like it was never like people came to the table and was like, hey, I'm not gonna do this anymore. You know what I mean? It was never like that. But it was just, we all just grew up after a while. I still, I still got this. This is my same bandana. This is the first one. This is my first one. You know what I mean? This is my first and only, you know? But yeah, I still got it. But at the end of the day, we all just growing and we learning from life lessons, and that's how I got into it. And yeah, that's how it is. And also, and what I learned from that, just at the end of the day, just growing up as a kid, we all just want to be down, So I just think I don't think that we ain't never gonna be able to stop kids from being kids. You know what I mean? As kids, they fall and bump their head. As young adults, they gonna go out, as young black men, we're gonna go out here in these streets as youngins, and we're gonna wild out. You know what I mean? We're gonna try to get all the coochie we can get. We're gonna try to show everybody that we the toughest. We're gonna show everybody that my block is the strongest. We trying to outcompete. We trying to outcompete each other with the money. And so with that immature mindset as a teenager, and as you in the young 20s, I think it's just that's just gonna be something that we ain't gonna be able to stop unless we sit up here and just show them a new path, But who gonna listen? You know what I mean? Just, as a youngin', we just look at the older dudes like, man, you just an old, washed up dude, you know what I mean? But I don't know, you know what I mean? The social media stuff, people live streaming now, so that's like the thing to do. But who knows? Only God can tell, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's the story right there of how I became a Damu, you know what I mean? Peace and love to everybody out there. Anybody got any questions and comments, go ahead and shoot them to me. I answer them. Much love.